What's up, guys? It's K Moore with More Muscle, and today we're talking about the top 10 ways of deaths in the United States and how to prevent them. So, for adults, I'll pull up the list. We got heart disease for the number one case, which is preventable. Cancer, not always preventable, but you can eat healthy and you can do your best to prevent it. Accidents. Chronic lower respiratory diseases, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, influenza, pneumonia, nephritis, and suicide. So that's for adults. Let's talk about some things that we can do to prevent heart disease. So one thing is processed foods, processed sugars, processed meats, alcohol, smoking, all of those things play a big role of heart disease. If you want to help your health and prevent it, you got to eat whole foods, vegetables, grains. An interesting fact is not eating too much sodium. So a lot of processed foods have a whole lot of sodium. So it's important not to eat a lot of those processed foods and not get a ton of sodium, right? That's going to help you with heart disease. We also know that an increase of potassium can reduce the risk of heart disease. Potassium is in whole foods like fruits and vegetables, whole grains. Eating not a ton, but high quality meats, but not a ton of meat, can benefit your health. And this can also help with heart disease. A lot of people are gonna say, "Hey, don't eat meat because it has lots of fat in it." But meat, if you don't eat meat too often, it can be healthy because of its nutrient value. But anyways, that's some ways to prevent heart disease. So again, not eating a ton of processed foods, not a ton of processed junk foods, not a ton of sugar. Staying away from alcohol, tobacco, drugs, working out, doing exercise, getting good night's rest. It's not super hard to prevent heart disease, but then you look at other countries other than America and heart disease just doesn't exist. And, we look at what Americans eat and that plays a huge role. So you definitely can control heart disease. So if you're in your mind thinking, "Hey, it's hard to do anything about heart disease," you're wrong, because you can definitely prevent it if you want to and you put in the work. So don't ever think, "Oh, I can't do anything about heart disease," because you look in other countries and they don't have heart disease because they don't have processed junk foods and they don't have drugs, and they get good night's rest, and they treat their bodies good, right? So that's one way you can prevent heart disease. Cancer. So as we know that cancer comes from multiplication of a bad cell, right? So your cells reproduce, and that's a good thing because you need new cells, and some cells die off, and every so often you have whole new cells in your body, right? And so cancer is basically one of those cells. It produces a bad cell, and it takes up your energy and uses your energy to make more bad cells, and eventually kills you. But some things that can help with cancer, again, added sugar has been known to increase the risk of cancer. Too much sun, although sun is very healthy, but too much can burn your skin. And while the skin is repairing itself, has to make new cells and a lot more. And so this can increase the risk of cancer. But also staying in good shape, that decreases the risk of cancer. Eating healthy, whole foods, that can all increase your risk of avoiding cancer. Although many people in America do get cancer at some point in their lives. Also, checking yourself of cancer can help a lot. So doing weekly checkups on yourself can help with cancer. So the third risk is accidents. So being safe, not using drugs and driving is a big thing. There are some things that you can't prevent that are going to happen, but you can always be careful and do your best to prevent accidents from happening. So you gotta drive safely. In my opinion, this is an opinion, but I don't think motorcycles are the best thing to drive. I've seen 5+ people die from motorcycles. So that's something you can prevent. Drug overdose is a big accident that happens. That's something, just don't take drugs, It's a lot of people take drugs because they're unhappy, but it's the drugs that make them unhappy. For example, a lot of people turn to depression medicine, anxiety medication, when the real answer is getting in better shape. When you get in really good shape, your body is in great shape, you're not going to feel sad. If you're in the best shape of your life, I would say 95% of your problems will go away. You'll still have, problems, but when you're in good shape, guess what? You're going to want to work more. You're going to want to make more money. You're going to want to help others out, which also makes you happier. You're going to want to be a good influence to your family. So getting healthy, it helps with everything. So just don't take drugs. If you're sad and depressed, go to the gym, go work out, go eat healthy, go do something for someone, help them out. That'll make you feel better. Chronic lower respiratory diseases. So we know that conditioning your heart can help with this. Kind of the same thing, just being healthy, eating whole foods, going out, walking, exercising, running, doing aerobic exercise, that can help with respiratory diseases. The next one is stroke. So stroke, that is the one thing I do not ever want to have, because me working at a hospital, there's like 50% of the people that are in the hospital that I work at, they have stroke. So that's when half their body works and their brain's not the same as it was, but they're still there, but they can't do like anything because they need help with everything, because they can't get out of bed because half their body doesn't work. Like their left leg doesn't work and their left arm doesn't work, but then their brain works amazingly. Like some parts of their brain, for example, I worked with a stroke patient and she could remember like every single detail of everything, but then when it came with other things, like she just wasn't good at it, because when you have a stroke, part of your body doesn't get oxygen for a long time. And so basically some of your body's getting oxygen, but not all of it. And this makes like half your body work. And sometimes you survive it, sometimes you don't. But it would be very, very difficult to live with a stroke. So eating healthy foods, making sure that heart is healthy. So there's this thing called atherosclerosis, where there's a plaque buildup in your veins. That is a big cause of stroke. That can cause stroke. So you want to make sure your veins don't have a lot of fat in them, because that can increase your risk for stroke. So eating whole foods and exercise will definitely decrease your risk of stroke. Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is, that wouldn't be fun either to have. It's where you forget everything. You just can't do what you used to do. You remember, you forget maybe your family's names, which would be terrible. And it's just, Alzheimer's is not fun to have. A lot of people say Alzheimer's is from an added sugar, which I definitely think has a big role. But other countries, they don't have a huge problem with Alzheimer's disease because they don't eat, processed junk food. And so if you cut that out, your risk of Alzheimer's disease will go down. Exercising, walking, and being outside, that'll all help with Alzheimer's disease. And learning. So this is my thing. If you have you ever heard if you don't use it, you lose it? Well, it's completely true. So say for example, if you are running, say some crazy amount, 25 miles a day, it's going to be so hard for your body to just all of a sudden lose all its strength and go to like dying. So if you're always constantly pushing yourself physically, mentally learning, your Alzheimer's disease risk will go way down. So if you're learning, if you're reading, if you're doing things like that, your Alzheimer's, it's going to be very hard to get Alzheimer's. And if you're taking care of your body physically, very hard. The next one is diabetes. So diabetes is a huge problem, and once you get diabetes, it's your life quality goes way down because you got to always be constantly checking your blood sugar, and it's just it's not fun to have. Every time you eat, you got to be worried about how much carbs I eat, all this. So it's nine. So this is the thing. There's two types of diabetes. 5% is type 1. So 5% of the population have type 1, which is very hard to reverse. Which is irreversible, sorry. So they'll have it for the rest of their lives. So they will have to take insulin. But 95% of the other cases are type 2, which are reversible, eating whole foods. One thing I think with diabetes, a huge help is fasting. So if you only eat when you're hungry, your body's going to have time to clear itself out, burn off the extra fat. But if you're constantly eating, your insulin level is going to stay high and it's going to stop working. So you got to give your insulin a rest. So if you eat like tons of meals a day and you're always snacking, that can be unhealthy for you. Say if you're a teenager and you need tons of calories, maybe not. But if you do have a problem with diabetes or type 2 diabetes, you could definitely try out fasting and eating whole foods, and you would probably be off your medication really quick. But the next one is pneumonia, influenza, so that's just a common cold. So we know that keeping your fighter T cells, which keep your body safe, keeping those strong, so antioxidants, so fruits, vegetables, those all help with influenza and pneumonia. So that's just like the common cold. So you want to keep your immune system up. So sleep is a very important thing. And you can also go into preventing HIV and AIDS, because that basically destroys your immune system, right? So that would be the number one thing. If you don't know how to stop that, go look it up. I don't want to explain it, but make sure you stay away from HIV or AIDS. The next thing is eating lots of fruits and vegetables. That will help your immune system, and sleep. So there's a study done where people got less sleep and their fighter T cells and immune system just went downhill and it didn't work as well. So make sure you get enough sleep. So suicide and nephritis. So nephritis is the 9th one. So just same thing, whole foods, eating healthy, and suicide. I'm not a mental therapist, but I do know that when you are healthy, you feel better with yourself. So if you do work out, your suicidal thoughts will go down. If you do eat healthy, your suicidal thoughts will go down. If you stay away from drugs and alcohol, this is the thing with alcohol and drugs. You'll feel temporarily happy, but the next day it just takes away happiness. So it's not worth it. Just don't, stay away from that stuff. Me personally, I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life, and I'm not planning on it because I know it's not smart. And I would say for a 24-year-old, I'm pretty successful. I got 2 homes. I got quite a lot of, I'm married. I got money, I'm happy with my life. And so staying away from those drugs and alcohol and working out every day, that's a recipe for success, and getting enough sleep. So those are those 10 things.